right, stand up. Let everybody recognize who you are, please, sir.
I'm glad to come out this evening. I want to put a face with a name, and I want to thank each and every one of y'all that showed up and voted, and I appreciate you. And I'm here, and I promise y'all before, anytime that I got a free night and y'all have a meeting, I will be in attendance. And the city of Wausau, I'm here for you, whatever I do to help, just phone call away.
Thank you,
y'all.
sir. Thank you. You're always welcome to Wausau. We always gonna be looking for free things.
There you go. I'll make it up with my hand out one day.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean?
I don't know about that one. Next item, business is the approval of the consent agenda. I couldn't know what it
I apologize, y'all don't have the water records in there, but no one that's behind is not locked, so if they're behind the lock, we don't have, I think we have two.
Overall, we're still looking
We're
good.
looking good.
Right.
I thought it was gonna be better.
Yeah, well, my friend was the next is the attended audience.
We have a motion.
Oh, I thought we didn't pass it yet. I'm pressing this thing through.
I move the adoption of the consent agenda.
I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. I hear a second.
I second it.
I will second. Any more discussion? How do you vote, Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Lynn?
Yes.
Yes. Now we go into the audience. First item on item, letter to the council from Mrs. Jane Rudd. Does Ms. Rudd like to present the letter?
No, I think they speak for themselves.
Okay. Did y'all all read the letters? I think we should do that one. Read them. I have all of those. Well,
Can somebody read the letters out loud?
I can read out loud, yes.
yeah. Yep, if you would, please.
The first letter is dated October the 18th of 2016 to Mrs. Jane Rudd. Dear Miss, it's from the Office of the State Attorney, 14th Judicial Circuit, Florida. Dear Mrs. Rudd, in regards to your recent request regarding Sam Rudd in the Wausau Fire Department, this letter is to confirm our telephone conversation dated October the 17th, 2016. The state attorney's office has been in receipt of all documentation submitted for review, and during that time that the assigned assistant state attorney had determined there was no probable cause for charges to be filed. We are only able to keep these types of records for a certain period of time, and the records in question have already been destroyed. If you have any further questions, please contact me at the above listed number. Sincerely, Julie Davis, for Sheila P. Jeffco, Assistant State Attorney. The second letter is from Laura Bell, Clerk of the Circuit Court, Washington County, Florida, 14th Judicial Circuit, dated October the 18th, 2016. To whom it may concern, I conducted a statewide criminal background on the following person, Samuel Ed Rudd. There are no criminal records, 7 year found on the applicant listed above. Let me know if I can further assist you. Sincerely, Krista Harris, Deputy Clerk.
Well, I accepted it with I don't think we need it. It's accepted, except those in the official record. We need a motion. I'll entertain a motion that we accept. Do I hear a motion that we accept the two letters?
So moved.
I have a motion to accept those minutes. You're a second.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I? It doesn't say what this is regarding. Is this a recent investigation or does it go back years ago in the letter?
It doesn't have a time period on it.
There was a note on the front of the package showing you what was going on
Didn't you just read it went back 7 years?
there. In the second letter from the clerk's office, it said you went back 7 years.
The investigation went
Yeah.
back 7 years.
Right. But what did they investigate? What's the
Yeah,
crime?
right. What?
No, if I understand, that's not confusing, the second letter was criminal background check, it
Right.
had anything to do with the investigation. It's two different, you got two different.
Okay, prior investigation, even though it's dated October 18th, it's from years ago.
But again, we don't need to confuse either, you're still talking about two things. The
Okay.
state attorney is talking about an investigation.
Of what?
The clerk's record is talking about a criminal background check.
Right.
That's two different things.
Right.
The clerk's record is not talking about investigations.
Right.
This just says it's, no problem cause for charges to be filed. It doesn't state what kind of charge we're talking about.
That's what I'm
But,
talking about, of what kind of charges.
I have no
Or
idea.
for what account.
No idea. Any further discussion?
Well,
Well, we can accept them like the letter,
we
face value.
We can accept them, but when we read the letter, it says at that time, and the letter from the state attorney is very vague, but I'm sure we all know that we're talking about an investigation.
Well, yes.
We
I,
know that whether it's documented or not, I'm sure we know what we're talking about.
on the front cover sheet, it says, for your information to clarify statements made at last town Wausau meeting. So I guess that clarifies it.
They don't clarify a thing for me, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Roger Dale, what are the allegations?
They don't say.
We're,
So, it's a criminal background check.
we're not going to
There
go
aren't
into
any
a-
allegations,
Excuse
apparently.
me, sir, we're not going into a discussion with all the people. Y'all, this is a town meeting at this time. We don't have we don't have plenty of discussion at the workshop. If we start answering everybody's questions, I don't know where we'll ever get to the end of the meeting. We're voting to accept, two letters as written into the minutes. That's all we're doing. We're not going, that's all we can do. We accept them into the minutes as read, as stated. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
I got one.
How do you,
I got one.
we know,
Go ahead.
we wait a while, you're on the unattended audience, come in just a minute.
It's not about Sam, it's about something else.
Well, we're gonna have a workshop.
I'm not a fire department person.
Well, we'll try to answer one question you asked. What's your time?
What's the charges from the attorney? I understand the lower bail thing.
I have no
But
idea.
you accepting the letter is fine to accept it, but what are you accepting it on?
Well, because
There's no
it's
charges
just a statement. It doesn't say anything, really.
Right.
But it just says it's a statement. So we're accepting it into the minutes as read and as stated on a piece of paper.
So really it means nothing.
Not to me, it doesn't.
Nobody either. So
Well,
it is
I'm
fine.
just saying and that's all we're doing. We're
Okay,
accepting
I
as written.
understand that.
To accept it, the motion is to accept it as presented.
As written.
And becomes part of public record.
I got it.
That's all it is, it just becomes part of it. You could write a letter that says, I think it's gonna rain next week, and present it to us, we can accept it, that can be part of public record, it don't have to. You don't need your credentials as whether it's manager or meteorologist or anything like that, it's just,
All right, I'm clear on that.
Any further discussion? How do you vote for the flower?
Yes. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, all you do is just accepting the letter as written. Any further, let's see, the only one. Next one is, on the unattended audience is, Judy Carter. If you would, please stand where we can hear you. Come forward if you like to.
I'm good. I live straight across the road in the little green train, and Second Street goes right out front of the city hall here from 77. It goes right down beside my property into the swamp. And are y'all ever gonna paint that and put a condo out there or something? I was-
Wow. I hope we do.
Well, in case you don't, I would like for y'all to I'm gonna build a house, and so I need some level property. I would like that, buy that from the city. That strip of property from pavement into the swamp. I would like to buy that one piece of property so I can build a house.
Well, we can't sell. And there's a house, there's a lot that's just this side of it. I'm sure you can find some of that in there. We see the only way we can do that, we have to abandon the street. And there was no other reason than just, I just want to build a house. I don't see for that.
Well, how long has it been abandoned?
It's been abandoned
Oh, it's-
since the day it was planted, for that. Sure.
It's not been abandoned, it's still platted. There's a procedure, if you'll come by, there's a procedure, you have to petition the council to close the road. And it has to be publicly advertised and go through procedures. And then it's at a vote of the council whether to close that portion of the road or not. There's a procedure you have to go through by Florida statutes that you have to petition. All you have to do is send us a letter, I'll petition that you close the portion of Second Avenue from Jackson Street to the end of the plat or something like that, to the end of your property. But it has to go through a special procedure and be advertised publicly. The attorney will prepare should it pass, he prepares the deed and all that, for that property.
Eventually, it has to go to county commissioners.
And it has to go to county commissioner for concurrence.
Planning board.
Yeah. So all you have to do is start the process by sending a letter to the
All right,
council.
I got that. All right, thank y'all.
Next, person on here is Lynn Gothard. Lynn?
I just want to speak on two items that was on the agenda audience. The rules for the unagenda audience is you can speak on 2 agenda items, and that's 2 of the things I want to speak on. Actually, I had gotten a copy of the letter from Ms. Rudd, and I was assuming that it pertained to the statements that I made at the last city council meeting here. And I just want to say, to clear it up, that there was an investigation of Chief Rudd, no matter what the letter says. I provided you each of you a copy of the investigation from the state attorney's office. There was evidence that he had committed grand theft according to their paperwork, and I submitted that to each of you. I was asked by State Attorney Wilson at that time, but I agreed to a settlement in this before criminal charges were found. I agreed to that to keep criminal charges from happening to Mr. Rudd. And we agreed that if the money was paid back by Labor Day, there would be no charges. I gave you the letter pertaining to that from Mr. Wilson. And Sam actually did pay $6,000 back to the town of Wausau. But the most important part of I think of the letter is the last sentence of the first paragraph, which says that there were no records available for her to look at. I'm not sure who Ms. Davis is. I'm assuming she's a clerical person. But the verbiage of that letter I take exception to, and I've actually filed a complaint with Mr. Hess's office regarding that letter, because the information in that letter is absolutely not true. There was cause, there was an investigation, there was a determination. I provided each of you with copies of it, and he did pay the money back. The other thing I came for is to see what the status is of my complaint last month that Mr. Rudd violated my civil rights, that he discriminated against me, and that he intentionally targeted me. There was a vote 4-0 for us to have a meeting, and I see that that's part of the agenda. But the meeting was not held, I understand, because he said he would come without a subpoena. And I'm here tonight hoping that maybe through the agenda item, we can come up with some kind of resolution for this. I'm still open to that, to see if we can come to some resolution. I feel like if the council doesn't do anything, you're condoning what he did. Because you're the authority on taking care of the chief of the town. And if you do nothing, you're condoning exactly what he did. And you're telling the people of this town that it's fine to retaliate, to target people, and to violate their civil rights. And I hope the council won't do that. I'm saying again at this meeting, I'm willing to negotiate a settlement. I'm willing to sign a waiver that I will not bring litigation against the town for 2 years suspension of Mr. Rudd from the department and a public apology. If that doesn't happen, and the council's only ones can do that, this is the last time I'll appear before the council without legal representation. Because as I said last month, I'm not going to take it. It was absolutely retaliation. It was absolutely violation of my civil rights to have equal time in speaking, printed material. I quoted y'all the Florida Constitution and what it says about my civil rights, and he absolutely violated them. And so I came tonight to see what the status of that was going to be from this council. And as I said, this is the last time I'm going to appear here without legal representation.
Step down for how long?
2 years.
What was the second thing?
Public apology.
Well, Counselor, y'all heard, Lynn's, proposal. We attempted it one time to get, parties together, and that didn't seem to work out. And I'm not going to, for very obvious reasons, I'm not going to try to sway one way or the other. Because I can understand where, even though I don't think it's a conflict or anything, I understand where it might be used as a conflict of interest. But what I'd like to do is, for the council to discuss this and see where you want to go with this.
Excuse me, before you have a discussion, I'd like to put my 2 cents in.
Where, okay, one.
Well, Mayor, in all fairness now.
Oh, Lord.
I signed
all
in, I signed
fairness.
in under
You can sign
agenda
into
dollars.
this.
Well, they're still
But you
gonna
did.
You're
I signed in.
That's
Council?
Are you,
May I sign in?
Man has a right to
Yes,
say
sir.
here we go, already, we're trying to have a meeting, this is between the council.
I understand.
This is not a workshop.
But you have
I'm not
yet
going-
to ask any
I'm not
rebuttal.
going to have this, period. You must be, your last name must be Smith.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
And what are you assuming there, sir?
Are your name Dave Lahart? I'm asking, I mean, if you want to stand up, at least let me know who I'm talking to,
Well, can I say something?
when you tell me who you are.
Oh,
Give me a chance, sir. My name is Dave
This
Lahart.
is gonna be a one-time deal now, I can tell y'all, we're gonna have a
Where you
workshop.
signing?
What happened between
You don't like me have my piece?
and Sam Rudd, is between Sam Rudd and Ms. Gothard.
Sir, this is not between Sam Rudd and your
No,
daughter.
we're not, no, we're not going this route, I'm sorry, you're not.
You said I signed in.
some
I
refusal?
told you, you've already had a chance to sign in prior to the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Sir, may I have
a few
the
minutes
floor?
I'm
late.
not
For
going
your daughter.
to start this again, this is just a meeting.
Mayor, may I have the
This
floor?
is town business. I don't think, yes, you got it right now.
Thank you. My name's
Not
Dave
gonna be a
Lahart.
long, drawn out thing. Go ahead.
My name is Dave Lahart. I'm with the Wausau Volunteer Fire Department. These allegations that your daughter is making have all been closed. It's done, it's over with. Now, there's a bit of a conflict of interest being that you are her father,
Yes.
this town mayor.
And I just.
She is a sitting county commissioner.
I just got to say, I'm not gonna be involved in this.
May I have the floor? Sir, I'm trying to be respectful.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do this right, like it should be done.
yeah. Okay, good.
All right. I think there's a bit of a conflict of interest. If you're going to take a vote, you need to take yourself out of it.
I've already said I was going to. I don't know where you're coming from. You got to wait until, if you don't understand what we're talking about, just wait until it comes up and then we'll decide on it.
Sir,
I've
I
already
believe
said
we
I'm
waited
not
long
going
enough.
to get involved in it because conflict of interest may happen. So I'm not going to be involved in it. I'm trying my best to stay out of it. You won't let me stay out of it. You keep bringing up stuff that is, this particular thing has nothing to do with the workshop. Zero. If you'd have been here last meeting, I told everybody that I would step it back. I'm not going to be involved in it. The vote that was taken one time before was for Ms.
Apparently, I'm
Lynn.
not allowed to speak and have the floor, sir. Is that correct? Is that the point you're trying to make?
If you would wait a while, we would figure out what we're doing here.
I'm not here for the workshop, sir. I'm here for the city of Wausau,
Well-
for the fire department.
But this is not between the fire department and Ms. Gothard. It's not between the fire department and Wausau.
Excuse me, sir, she's asking him to step down. That's not part of the fire department.
Between the chief, not you. It's not, it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the whole fire department.
It kind of does.
Yeah, it does, that's our chief.
Well, and not just that. The chief is not, this ain't the Sam Rudd Volunteer Fire Department. This is the Wausau Volunteer Fire Department.
I'm trying to make a point.
Well, no, you're saying
You're not
that this
making
is just
a
a
point,
two-person deal. It's not.
We actually voted.
We could sit here and discuss this till in the morning daylight. We'd be no further along we are right this minute. This
Is Mrs. Gothard asking Sam Rudd to step down from the Wausau Fire Department?
she's asking
That's a yes or
us.
no question, sir.
She's asking
Yeah.
him to make him step.
Yeah, that is part of the fire department. That is part of this
This is a
discussion. This
discussion.
is not part of that workshop, sir.
This is, I'm telling you, you're going to have to sit down sooner or later. It's not getting anywhere, zero. You're not making anything any better.
That's
You're making
because
it
you're
worse.
being stubborn, sir. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, Lord. Well, yeah, me. I'm not getting, I'm gonna keep the cool now, people. Don't tell me I should be ashamed of myself.
Sir, I'm not one slinging stuff here.
I'm
try-
not slinging
trying to
anything.
make my
I'm
point.
trying to carry
protect
on a
my
meeting.
fire department.
Can you hear me now? I'm trying to carry on a meeting without, discussing everything with everybody in here.
Isn't that what the town council is
This is a
about?
one-on-one, this was a one-on-one, it's supposed to be a meeting, so the.
Sir, if this is one-on-one, what are we all doing here?
For a workshop,
No, sir, the workshop is in an hour.
yes, I don't, I guess you're here as an audience,
You got here early.
you're just here as an audience, you're not part of the meeting.
Excuse me, sir, I am here. I am listening. I am part of this discussion.
Anytime that you wanted to have the floor before the meeting, I thought everybody that was in the meeting knew this. You sign in a piece of paper, it says unattended audience. We do not have open discussions in the middle of a meeting. This is not a meeting between the whole town and the council.
Well, for
This
those
is-
of
this
us
is-
that
this
do
is a
not
meeting.
know those rules, it's up to someone on your cabinet to let us know that. So in the future, we don't have these
Why?
problems.
Would you like to answer that? Yeah.
Yeah,
This is the turn, a real turn.
well, listen,
And
I apologize for being a little late. We were at a school board meeting tonight.
You didn't sign in.
It's a,
I got told to shut up because I didn't sign in, so I was just making that point.
That's true.
You're part of this.
I don't know what that was about right there.
Yeah, same idea.
This is
I
our,
get
this
what
is
y'all
our
say.
town attorney. He, remember this sitting up
I
here.
understand.
so what I think we're at, Mr. Chairman, is we are probably in the regular agenda,
Yeah.
6 o'clock meeting is probably where we're at.
No, the unattended audience, we have some people. Ms. Judy Carter, spoke, and Ms. Lynn Gothard spoke.
So let me finish, and maybe I can set the stage for what's going on and help everybody. So, under Florida statutes a couple of years ago, there was a clause inserted that basically said that the public has the right to speak at meetings on any topic that the board is addressing during that meeting or tonight, the workshop afterwards. So certainly the public has the right to speak at those meetings. The statute also says that the council has the ability to set reasonable rules and parameters on that public speaking. And so typically when you go to any sort of board meeting, whether it be a school board, a county commission, or wherever, there's generally the ability to sign in and speak on whatever topic you want to speak in, and usually that lasts somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. So I would encourage you as the public to speak what topic you want to speak on, and what interest and desire you have on that topic. The statute, as I said, has reasonable parameters, and so typically, personal attacks or vulgar remarks or sentiment such as that goes over the line certainly needs to be restricted, because we all need to respect each other's points of view here, which is why we're here, to take care of the town business. But you're right in the sense that the public does have a chance to speak, but it doesn't mean it's a deposition, and it doesn't mean it's a question and answer session. But you have the right to speak on the topic that you want to speak on. So that's what the statute says. So if we're in the unattended audience part of the section tonight, I think that probably they do have a right to speak. Certainly the board has the ability to put reasonable parameters on that speaking. And once that session is closed, this board reserves the right to conduct business of the town without interruption. So this is your chance to speak. And certainly some things you're going to say tonight you're going to agree with, a lot you're not going to agree with. But just as any board, this board deserves the opportunity to conduct business in a reasonable and proper fashion. So once the unattended audience portion is over, this board needs to be able to conduct business and vote on agenda items.
Excuse me, sir, attorney. I'm Dave Lahart, if you weren't here when I introduced myself.
Good to meet you, sir.
Isn't there a conflict of interest with a city county commissioner and a mayor of a town? Isn't there a conflict of interest right there? Should there be other professional ways of doing this?
That is such a broad question. and let me
Yes,
say
sir, it
this.
is. And it needs to be considered.
Sir, when somebody starts talking, if you start talking, it's hard to answer that question. So I'll be glad to let you finish, but we all deserve the right to finish as well.
Roger that, go ahead.
Okay, so let's agree that you talk, I talk, so we're not talking over each other. With respect to a conflict of interest question, there's two types of conflict of interest. There's a conflict of interest that is a statutory conflict of interest, which is defined by the legislature as such in Florida statute. So a lot of your ethics opinions and other opinions, Florida statutes deals with what those are. Personal conflicts of interest that are outside the statutory scheme may be a conflict of interest to me or a conflict of interest to you, but they're not necessarily a statutory conflict of interest. In this case, the way you phrase that question is so broad, it cannot be answered the way it was asked. There could be a conflict of interest depending on what action was taken or not taken, but just the sense that you have a county commissioner, a sitting county commissioner, and a member of this board does not in and of itself create a conflict of interest. Depending on what action is taken tonight or not taken by that chairman, could create a conflict of interest. So there's a potential for a conflict of interest, but it doesn't exist just because they exist.
Okay, thank you.
Just, bring a little up to date, prior to you coming in. I'd already told him, any vote, anything, any kind of discussion on this particular item, I'm backing completely away from. I would not make any decisions. I would try not to, influence any council. And it would be a three-person decision, it'd be a three-council decision. I'm not going to be involved in it, because I can realize it would be viewed as a conflict. Now, what I've been trying to do, I'm not going to make any decision. I'm trying not to even make any sentence that would make anybody feel I have a conflict of interest. I don't want to be involved in this particular thing at all. I was told that at the last meeting, that I did not intend to be involved in it. And that's all I have to say about it. That's what prior to you getting here. That's where I stand.
Mr. Chairman, Matt,
Yes, sir.
I would respectfully disagree with the position you're taking. We've all went through those ethics trainings, and I think the conflict of interest or those statutory conflicts of interest, because everything else is up to interpretation by all of us. I do understand what you're saying. I understand Ms. Gothard and Lynn. I understand that, but when we said that we serve on this council, we take the hard ones with the easy ones, and unless you are ready to declare and identify a conflict of interest, I think that you ought to take part in the discussion and any vote that we have here tonight. That conflict of interest is what I understood, and certainly I can't conflict Mr. Goodman's opinion, but as we understood those ethics things, you have to have a personal gain in this thing or something, and you don't have. Unless your dog won't ever speak to you again the rest of your life, and then that may be some kind of conflict. But other than that, I think you need to participate in the discussion and votes. I can't tell you that. I want you to understand as a member of this council that I don't necessarily I can understand that.
And I'm certainly late to the party. Is there something is there a motion on the table? Is there a vote on the table?
No, not even.
So are we in the unagended audience section? It would be my recommendation to go through the unagended audience section and let them speak, and this board not comment anymore. I would let them speak, finish the unagended audience section, and go to the business of this board.
That sounds good to me.
That's what you need to do right now. You need to let the unagended audience finish, You need to close that part of the session, and you need to do the business of the county, I mean, of the city.
That sounds good.
Use the 3 minute, use the 3 minute thing, we got it in five, speak one time, can we limit the number of times?
Yeah, everybody gets 3 minutes. I will let anybody who wants to speak on the topic speak for 3 minutes.
We're not gonna keep bouncing around back and forth.
And what we're not
Same
gonna do is
person every time.
continue to have, it's a question and answer session.
No.
It's a public comment section.
Excuse me. If one person goes over that agenda time, it's unfair to the others that they get shut down at the end of their time.
Nobody should go over.
Pardon me?
No one should go over, then it's fair to everybody. If everybody,
Mrs. Gothard has gone over many, many times, and nothing's been shut down about that.
Where are we at? What year are we in?
Sir, you don't know that question.
What you did in the past, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not into that. We're trying to get through a meeting tonight, not discussing what happened way back there.
agenda ordinance doesn't have a 3 minute time limit on it, it's part of the meeting that we're in now, it has a 3 minute time.
All I'd like to say there is, the allegations that Ms. Gothard is making, it was Sam Rudd that, you know, violated her civil rights. It was not. It was the entire fire department. It was a department vote that brought that to where it was at.
You were there.
Yes, sir.
Can you state your name, just so we
Adam
have a
Smith.
record of everybody speaking?
Adam Smith, also volunteer fire department. Ms. Gothard quoted in her speech the last meeting, Section 4 of the Florida statutes on how we violated her civil rights. Well, Section 4 says, freedom of speech and press. Every person may speak, write, and publish sentiments on all subjects, but shall be responsible for the abuse of that right. That just means anybody can print and say whatever they want, okay? But you don't see dancing naked girls on the front of the Chipley newspaper for a reason. They have a choice also of what to print and what not to print. When we made our rules and when we started accepting money, we made it plain and clear. We had a date. All right? She said we never called her. We didn't have to call her. Okay? Most everybody reached out to us. She mentioned 10 checks. Those are people who had already reached out to us. She has never, in the past 3 years that I've been on this department and printing the same publication, never asked to be in it. So we didn't reach out to her because we surely didn't figure she wanted to be a part of us because she's never made an attempt to be a part of us. Okay? Now, I know I'm stuck to 3 minutes. David Hart, the check that she mentioned, I don't know about the 2 signatures. That's y'all. That has nothing to do with us. We have a separate account which y'all write the checks at our request. We don't write any checks. So that's crap. Okay, second, the next part of that same thing, we have our volunteer funds. That check was written out of our volunteer funds. We can do whatever we like with those funds because we work for those funds to spend them how we need to and how we see fit. What that was doing, she mentioned David Hart is a diver. What that does is allow David Hart to teach us to dive and to learn how to rescue people, which is what we do. We rescue people. We are the volunteer fire department. We do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff for other people, for other cities, such as Wausau, such as Chipley, such as Vernon. We help everybody. We are part of Washington County and other counties. Okay? That's my 3 minutes. Thanks.
Mrs. Carter.
Judy Carter. I agree with Adam, but I have listed like almost 300 names here of people. This is what the petition says. It says, I support our Wausau volunteer fire chief Sam Rudd and appreciate the hard work of our volunteer fire department. This is just not 300, almost 300 votes from citizens of Wausau. This is countywide. Because out of 5 of y'all, or 6 sitting up there, If your house was to catch on fire, Sam got to your house, would you tell them to turn around and leave? 300 people here wants you to come to their house. If there's a fire in Vernon, Wausau Volunteer Fire Department goes, not necessarily Sam every time, whoever can get there first. If there's one in Greenhill, if there's one in Chipley, if there's one in Caryville, if it's close and Wausau can get there, they get there. If there's a wreck up and down 77, it don't have to be a fire. The fire department goes. And it's not just Sam. The fire department is everybody. And like I said, here's the petition. Look at it, read the names, do what you want to with it. But it's, to me, almost 300 people saying they want to keep Sam fire chief makes a statement.
Okay, you're next.
My name is Jeanette Rudd. Ms. Gothard mentioned that her civil rights had been violated. My understanding is, in order for her civil rights to be violated, she can't sue or do anything to Sam Rudd. She would have to do something to the city. So if that's what she wants to do, then she's going to be doing the city, not this grudge that she's had against Sam Rudd for a number of years. She passed the deadline. She passed the deadline. That's all that needs to be said.
Who else?
Can I respond to her?
Yes.
I'm G. Carter again. Back in the day, Joe and I did the Possum Fun Day thing, and we did all the advertisements and stuff, and I can see how in a book, just say you got 100 ads, it's always be placed in one book. You can't place 101 ad. You can't have a half page left over in the back of the book. So if the book was full, when Lynn asked to put her ad in there, or whatever she asked for, then I can understand the fire department, not Sam, but the fire department's point of view, because I've been there, done that. It can happen.
Dave Lahart. I've been with the volunteer fire department for about 25 years now. I've been on Wausau for about 10 years. I remember when Sam Rudd first came on. He is an asset to this community and to this county with the fire service. He's responsible for training an awful lot of volunteer firefighters. When the call comes out, Sam Rudd's there. The fire service in this county is #1 to him. I think it would be highly unfair to ask him to step down. I think it would be much more fair to ask him to keep leading. Because Sam Rudd is a leader in this community. And without him, this community, pretty sad place. As far as my name goes, it's not arrogance, but I am one of the best when it comes to underwater rescue, underwater survival. I ask not to have my license retained, but by the fire department voting that they wanted me to stay in effect for training. I'm available to anybody, county, state, city. I'm available. So if you want to run my name through the mud, go ahead. Have a good time. I'm not going anywhere. But for you to do this and abuse this fire department, especially you, Mayor, being part of this city, man, I wish you would reconsider. Because this is a community, this Wausau. You lose the fire department, you're losing a town. That's a pretty sad fact, sir. And that's all I've got to say.
Anybody else? I'll go back to the original. The reason all this discussion came up was we were presented on this Gothard as that we let me make sure. We agreed to for Sam to step down for 2 years and a public apology. We would let this incident between her and Chief Rudd would be ended. If we don't do it, then we'll bring it to the next level. And make a decision and have a discussion within it. If we want to ask Sam Rudd to do this, or do we want to let it go and let the attorneys get involved? That's where we are.
Well, it sounds to me like you gotten through the unagendaed audience section, so if that is done, we probably need to go into the regular part of the meeting and make sure that business is taken care of. Certainly, being done with the unagendaed audience section, the town council has got the purview under its discretion to go in whatever direction tonight you want to go. The most important thing is to make sure that the people that wanted to have a say from the public had a chance to say from the public. But the discretion on how you want to operate the town is why you got elected, and those tough choices will have to be made or not made, depending on what direction you want to go with the issue. But it was important to get through the unagendaed audience so that people that wanted to speak on the agenda item can speak on it. I would encourage.
We'll close the unagendaed audience at that time. Next order of business is the clerk.
You want to bring that up now?
No, I'll bring it. Yeah.
I don't have very much. You have the clerk from Trinity Church expressing their appreciation for their revival that was held here. You also have in your package, the email correspondence between myself and Mr. Goodman on trying to set up a meeting with Ms. Gothard, which did not take place. So that's just for y'all's information to do with what you need to do with it.
Well, at this time, I
Yeah,
skipped over that, I can see where it's going.
It needs to be acted on.
So we can act on it this time instead of me waiting until my time. I think y'all all sitting have the history on this by now. So what is, any discussion on what is your decision? I'm not going to, even after what you said a while ago, right there. I would, it's not because I'm feeling conflict, but I would not dare do it because all these people are involved and all of them, I've seen most of them, so. And I don't want this being a small town as it is, I don't want anybody to feel like there's a conflict of interest. That's not what I'm doing, so.
And I appreciate that.
Three of you can make that decision.
In conversation with Mr. Wood over the weekend, he said that the biggest problem that we'd rather have had has been the lack of communication. I just want that lack of communication be, I want you to know how I felt about it. And I won't go out here after the meeting to say that I felt in the other way. I want you to know how I felt.
And I think Mr. Goodman has had conversation with Chief Rudd that indicated he'd be more than willing for a meeting after the first of the year, but that's.
No, that's not what I said
Not what
to
you
Chief
said.
Rudd, so I'll tell you exactly what I
Okay.
said to Chief Rudd. I was asked at the last meeting, and I wasn't in attendance, so I think that's important to set forth. I was not at the last meeting, I was not here. I was asked by the town council after the meeting to sit down with Chief Rudd, Ms. Gothard, and to try to reach a compromise, maybe some other people involved as well. That's what I remember. My response to the town clerk was multiple-fold. One is me representing the Board of County Commissioners, her being a sitting member, created a conflict of interest for me. So what I would have to have is an abstention from all parties and a waiver of conflict from all parties involved. And so for me to sit down with Ms. Gothard as a sitting commissioner and to sit on behalf of the county and or to negotiate on behalf of the sitting chief was a conflict that all parties would have to waive that conflict for me to be able to do that. So that was what was told to the clerk. It was nothing about the new year. So that was the conflict that arose. The second issue that arose was the chief had some issues concerning even attending the meeting. He and I chatted about those, and I told the chief that, you know, the town council does not have subpoena power. That was one of the issues that we subpoenaed. We don't have the subpoena powers to subpoena him for a quasi-mediation, which is what it would have been. So those were the two issues discussed, and Chief Rudd and I had conversation about it, and also the clerk and I have had conversation about it. And those are the two people that I chatted with about it. But there was a conflict we would have to jump through, and then there would have to be a willingness on behalf of the chief to attend such a meeting. And those were the issues we couldn't get resolved.
Mr. Chairman, can I address that?
Yes.
Just to help me understand, in a minute, I would like for you to talk more about the subpoena powers, what they are, and how we're going to have them. But the main thing,
I'll go ahead, I'll address it when you know.
the main thing is the conflict. Mrs. Gothard has never presented herself as a commissioner. At the time she presented herself, she was already, the election was over with, that had eliminated her candidacy. I don't understand where the conflict was, and you represented the city, that you were our attorney, not her attorney, and she wasn't, she was just a citizen at that time. So I don't understand the conflict. That meeting should have taken place. It may have helped with some things tonight.
With all due respect to you, Mr. Hagan, the meeting can take place, I'm not gonna do it, and with more due respect to you, the statutory conflict of interest are different than the Florida Bar conflict of interest, and any potential, even if it's a 1 centillia of a potential conflict of interest for an attorney, we can't get in the middle of that. And so, with all due respect to your understanding of the statutory or potential conflict of interest, and I'm on the review committee for the 14th Judicial Circuit for the Florida Bar, the obligation of an attorney from an ethical standard, even if you sniff it, is different than what it is for a city board member or commissioner. So your opinion that meeting should have happened probably is technically correct. I stand fast that I should not be the one to do that meeting without a conflict of interest waiver. So I will stand fast to the end on that.
Conflict is not something I have not for me.
Well,
and I appreciate the position that you're in and accept it.
And there are a number of good attorneys.
I wouldn't have been it either.
A number of good attorneys in this area that would do a great job if I'm not the person that can do it, or people feel comfortable doing it. Because I don't want either side, and I told Margaret this, and I told the chief this, and I would tell Ms. Gothard this, if not everybody's comfortable with me because playing multiple roles, I'm not the guy to do it, and nor should I do it from an ethical standpoint.
I just needed to understand.
That was kind of my understanding also, but I certainly don't know anything about law officer, not big offenders. I think a fairly good attorney told me one time, he said, if there are edges to a route, look, you stay in the middle. That way if you veer off a little bit, you're still way off the edges. And if you get out on the edges and you start on the edges, there's a real good chance you're gonna jump off on the wrong side or something. You might get a pothole or something. So I'm trying to keep it right in the middle. So that there's absolutely no conflict, no appearance of conflict. And that's the reason I need to know just how the city council and to adhere to the wishes of the Lynn, or do we want to continue down the road and then the next time we'll have an attorney? And as somebody pointed out somewhere in here, once we get attorneys involved in this, it will not be Sam and Lynn anymore. It'll be, in essence, it'll be town and Lynn's attorney, not her. So I need some discussion which route y'all want to go with this. That's all I'm gonna say about it. We need to have some discussion on it.
I say let Lynn get her attorneys and go for it. I don't want to see Sam gone.
discussion. I'll accept the motion. We, in either direction you want to go.
Mr. Chairman, just so that everybody understands, I think none of this was sunshine violations, as I understand that. Again, if it was, I think if I understand sunshine, and I'm so glad Mr. Goodman's here to help us. If you have a discussion, you have to declare that discussion at the meeting and the content of it. Is that?
Yeah, I keep going, I'm trying to follow your sunshine.
Okay, I don't think this is sunshine, but I have spoken to Mr. Rudd, and if in fact, an elected official and an employee, or which our ordinance says that he is, in violation of sunshine, then we've talked, we have not discussed a vote. Mrs. Gothard has been to my home and we have talked. I've not talked to any member of the council, nor have I talked to any member of the fire department. When Ms. Gothard was in my home last week, she was going to present 1 year, and tonight it's 2 years. I believe for the most part that's all that's changed in our discussion. When I spoke to Mr. Rudd over the weekend, he had indicated that there may be his willingness to make an apology and some time away from the fire department, but that would be for us to determine if we wanted that to happen. Mr. Rudd further said, and these are some of these things will go over into the workshop, I'm sure, because our ordinance needs to be addressed here today. If we read this, and this is not the issue we're dealing with tonight, we're dealing with, there were some recommendations made because of similar lapses of judgment a few years ago. Mr. Rudd indicated that if he was not the chief, that our fire department would walk out. I believe that the city of Vernon and some others have fared very well in entering into an agreement with the county to take over their fire departments. I won't be held hostage as a member of the council to be threatened like that. There are other alternatives. We own the building, we own the equipment, and I don't want anybody to do it. Not one of you. There's nobody in this county, and I've worked with you in my prior career. I've worked with most of you, many of you, and one firefighter from another department told me one time if I had to go to hell to fight a fire, I want Sam Rudd with me. This has nothing to do with Sam Rudd's ability. It has nothing to do with his knowledge. It has to do as to whether or not there was a violation. We've got a lot of capable people in office. We have elected people from Washington right on down to city councils that have been removed from office because they made judgment errors. They weren't incapable, they weren't ignorant, unlearned, or anything. They made judgment errors. Somebody said, well, the whole department voted on this thing. I haven't seen any minutes that said the whole department voted on that. And if the whole department voted on one, why didn't the whole department vote on others if there was 10 more than half?
We actually did, sir.
I haven't seen minutes on that. You had your 3 minutes. We're out of the under-agenda documents now.
I was just making clarification.
No, you're saying it didn't happen.
I was just making clarification.
You usurp your authority. We're out of the under-agenda documents.
Definitely we're out of it.
So if we're talking about errors of judgment on that, if we're talking about the book was full, wasn't even any reason to take a vote because if the book was full, you couldn't vote to add 101 or whatever Mrs. Carter's illustration was. Like, look, why would you have to vote? So there has certainly been some errors of judgment on somebody's part, whether it was the whole department or whether it was Mr. Rudd himself. And Mr. Rudd said to me that the thing that we have had that has brought us all here tonight It's the lack of communication. And he's come back in now, so if I say anything, and I just hate saying Mr. Rudd, Mr. Gothard, can I just say Sam and Lynn and
Sure.
first name?
I think we all.
Sam said to me, we're all neighbors. We're all part of the community. We all know each other. He said all those things that we ought to say. And in doing that, he said, this has just been a lack of communication. That's got to get better. Again, that may be some things we address in the workshop. I'm not ready to do 2 years suspension. I wasn't ready to do that when we talked. I'm not ready to do 2 years suspension. I am ready for us to address some of these things, and I'll have to do them periodically. Again, just going back to former careers and things like that. Never had anybody done any more for me than the Wausau Fire Department and Mr. Rudd. He served as the chairman of the WCFA for a number of years, and he took over when Mr. Finch died. He was doing lots of work way back then. And there's nobody in this room that remembers when the water system came to Wausau Department, this way that you do. We had people out here putting their knives on each other because we was having to shut down wells. Things change. The fire department is not a club. You can be volunteers, and you can be a volunteer at the library if you just want to be a volunteer, but if you're going to be a volunteer fireman, the statute says there's things we have to do to be a volunteer fireman and things like that. If you're going to volunteer and represent the city, I don't want any question marks on the reputation of the city. This is what I said to Sam. We'll move the direction, we'll move the meeting, Mr. Chairman. This is what I said to Sam. Well, I didn't say the Trump quote, but that hadn't been made, I don't think. And Mr. Trump said earlier, after meeting with Mr. Obama, that they discussed a lot of things. Some was good and some was difficult. We've had some good things over the years, we've had some difficult things. Since 1971, I have served continuously without interruption in public service as an elected officer or an appointed officer in some measure in Washington County. Seen lots of things, experienced lots of things. And you know what's going to happen tonight? Some of you are going to leave here mad with me, mad with him, and perhaps them and him and each other maybe. Somebody's going to say, I thought you was a Christian. Because we disagree with each other has nothing to do with one's standing with the Lord. Why have I put in 45 years? Well, 36 of those years I was paid to do a good job and enjoyed a good career. But next to being in ministry and working in the church and being a school teacher, which I never did make, I think serving the public in some of the capacities that I have as an elected officer is one of the greatest callings and one of the greatest privileges that anybody could ever have. I think serving the public is a wonderful thing. But it ought not to be something that gives you ulcers. It ought not to be something that costs you friendships. It ought not to be something that causes people to put speaking to you or things like that. I hope that don't happen tonight. I hope that something better than that comes from this. But there's got to be a place after a while, and it's a thin piece of meat that hasn't gone to one side to it. Mr. Rudd and I also talked about blame. There's enough blame to go around. I'm not looking for blame tonight, I'm looking for solutions. And Mr. Rudd, if I said anything different than what you and I talked about Saturday night, if I said it the way we talked about it, Ms. Gothard, did I say it the way that you and I talked about it tonight? Okay, so now, if y'all hear anything else on the street, that changes from now. What we've said to now, they have both agreed that I said it right. And I'm not prepared for 2 years. I am prepared for us to find a solution, whether we do it tonight, whether we do it in this meeting. And I know that Ms. Gothard's clock is ticking faster than ours are. But I don't cherish the thought of the city being sued. I don't know that they can sue us individually, but certainly we get a chance to test our insurance and link the city's attorney or somebody if we go that route, but if that's what we want to do, let's bring it on. I'd rather not do that. I'll vote on any motion that gets on the table.
I'd entertain a motion that, Ms. Burns did let it go forward. Do I hear, you want to make that a motion?
I do.
Have a motion, do I hear a second? Well, we're gonna have to make a decision sometime. We don't want to vote on that. We're,
Do you have any advice?
Well, you actually don't have to make a decision. I think a
I don't.
A non-vote is a vote for the status quo. So, you know, I think a non-vote would be we are going to maintain status quo. I think to take action, you would have to change something, which would be a vote for some sort of disciplinary action or something like that. Because if no vote happens, it is status quo as you walk in tonight.
I did see in the minutes, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what you're supposed to do tonight, but I did see in the minutes where there was a vote of the fire department to recommend Mr. Rudd be chief for another year or something like that. And I know that our ordinance says that we'll take into consideration, we do the appointment. If we don't reach some kind of resolve, and I don't know when we're going to do that, now or next month, or when we have a new council, or I don't think, would the workshop be a place we can take action? We can't take action. So I'm going to be just as unprepared to vote on that recommendation tonight as I am to vote on the other. So we got to get a resolve somewhere. We're wrong men and women. Everybody in here is over 21 years old, I'm pretty sure. And we got to be better. Let's disagree. I drive a Dodge, you drive a Chevrolet, you drive a Ford. I like chocolate, you like vanilla, you like strawberry. You can drive what you want to. We got to work together. Now this is just having stuff, and we come in here and we're trying to stare each other down, and we cross-armed, cross-legged, and reared back in our chairs if we sitting up there, whatever it is. That's a bunch of junk, folks. We got to do something this time. And somebody said we couldn't have fun day for one for the fire department. We had fun day for 40 years without the fire department. A long time without it. I can't take away from what you've done. If it had been for the fire department the last few years, it would not have been as good as what it has been. We've always been in parades, we've always been things like that. But perhaps the fire department don't understand, they are representing the city. If anybody gets sued, if anybody gets in trouble, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 people sitting. I don't know one of them would be.
Which is the question we've asked, who's she suing? Us or the city?
The city.
She's gonna sue the city.
It ain't no question about it.
Okay, that's what I wanna know.
But you're part of the city.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand, but
And worse things
then
have
why is
happened,
this about her and Sam?
or stranger things have happened. If her and Sam wants to do pistols at 10 paces, that's her and Sam. I don't want to get into her and Sam. I wish they liked each other, but if they choose not to like each other, that's between them. But the city.
But before the city passed judgment.
Stranger things have happened in cities, disbanding police departments and fire departments and things like that.
But before the city cast judgment, we knew on both sides of the story.
We're out of the discussion section. This is for the council.
But the council has not
I
asked for
do
any,
not.
you're fixing to pass judgment on somebody
The
without
council
getting both sides of the
We're not
story.
passing
Not,
judgment.
Daniel, we're not gonna listen to you,
Passing
over
judgment.
with that part of it.
We're not passing judgment on anybody.
If
Really?
you vote on that, yes, you are.
No.
If, we gonna vote on it, or we gonna discuss it further, but
It's an action, it's not a judgment.
this is, I don't.
Attorney, you better step in, sir.
We had a motion on the table.
That ain't
If
right.
I would step in, we would have law enforcement here, and we would be bantering back and forth. I wanted everybody to have their piece to say, but
You understand where we're coming from.
you had your piece to speak. I also understand order of meeting, and I would respect if you would just let them handle business. Y'all had your opportunity, y'all wanted to let you have your opportunity. They gotta conduct their own business.
Do you think, sir?
They know how you feel.
The way we're trying to discuss it, I mean,
Talk to each
he
other.
said, and we're trying to make a decision for the board. And the outside, the echo is not doing any good. We're trying to make a decision between the board and the board. And
Mr. Chairman,
we've got to make a decision somewhere down the line, because as Ms. Gothard stated, that he would not be coming back to another meeting asking for, okay, if we don't want to go to a meeting this week, we'll meet next week, and next week. I would like to, I would like to see the board make a decision.
Mr. Chairman, there is one other thing. I thought I said the last, there was one other thing. Mr. Rudd and I talked about, and in the capacity of being the chief, and I told Mr. Rudd that I did expect him as the appointed person from the fire department to show leadership, and for him to be the person we hear from tonight. Of all the people we've heard from, we haven't heard from the chief. And I think as the leader of the department, he ought to be the one that's doing the talking. He ought to be the one that's meets with us quarterly, like we asked to happen, like that. So I'd really like to hear from him.
I'd have no problem with
Mr.
that,
Rudd,
as the chief.
He ought to be the spokesperson. If he hasn't designated a person to speak for him, he ought to. Did we talk about that?
I would recommend that.
Did we talk about that?
Did we talk about what?
About needing to hear more from the chief.
You do need to hear this from me. First of all, she turned in her stuff too late. Yes, we did accept money and ads from other people after the fact. They had called and asked for extensions. She never did that. Okay? It's just that simple.
I'm not going to get into it.
And that's the whole gist of the story. This group voted on that book, and I backed up their decision.
Did anybody on the board understand that to be the problem? I'm asking a question.
I don't see how I can violate her civil rights.
The chairman was dated away.
What? No, I don't, not you. In other words, you don't think that, you think, I'm just gonna ask you a question, but I mean, I'm gonna get out of it. Do you think that after hearing for, I'm sure at least 6 months, probably a year, there's one thing with Dag, I'm sure never happened. Her name would not be in that book. This was months before the book ever even became available. Yes, I mean, if this is true, okay. And it was, let me get out of it.
Can hearsay sue somebody? That's what I don't get.
No need in discussing with me. Anything further? Got any more questions, Mr. Rudd? Fire chief.
Mr. Chairman, should we wait until we have the workshop with the fire department? And was the workshop to be, all these things discussed, and maybe make a decision then?
You would have the ability, because I think your workshop's supposed to start at 7, you could recess this meeting and re-intervene this meeting after your workshop. You just can't take any action at the workshop. But I would encourage you to take care of all town business before we recess and come back.
Get to this.
There's other stuff that you gotta take care of.
Would it be, y'all be in favor of that after the workshop? Do, we just put the meeting in recess until after the workshop? We'll come back after the workshop and discuss this further and maybe make a decision. You in favor of that?
I would be.
I would,
You in
yes.
favor of that? Okay.
She didn't get a second, so that motion dies for lack of second.
Yeah. Everybody agree with
Yes.
that? Yeah, finish with the clerk.
litter control.
The only that we see there was,
Oh, you just finished that, you see.
I just let you know, Cindy, we'll discuss that at the December meeting.
Well, I'll have to admit, I didn't read it very close. I had other things to read, so. And,
I'm sorry, it's a portable building, so we'll be here with you about it in here.
okay.
Everything else is.
I have nothing further.
Portable building is on its way, so.
Palmer, you have anything further? Mr. Hagan?
You need to give us a report on the neighbors, paving and flooding.
Yeah, Ms. Neighbors got somewhat, some of the employees that are foreman down there told them that the road was not part of the paving project. It is not. Mayor Phillips and I, at the request of the council, have negotiated with Mr. Granger himself. They're going to do that with milled asphalt. When this project is over, it can't be a part of the DOT project. Before they do here, it will be done along with Mr. Walton's program. When the urban machine gets here, we'll do that.
And Marlene, you have that? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, we put this meeting into recess. We're just going out to recess. And we'll be back, after the work. This time we'll take about a 10-minute break, we'll recess and table for the regular meeting.
Just the same.
Okay. We'll bring the regular meeting out of recess, the reason we recess, we have to make a decision whether to, agree with Lynn's request or let it fall to a attorney to take over the job. And as I said about this particular thing, I'm not going to be involved in it. As Ardell said earlier, you can see the reason why not, but I just feel like
Now, respect.
I'm just not going to hang myself out there.
I still say, let her go for it.
You're initiating that motion, Ms. Palmer?
Yes, I am.
You know. Okay.
Have a motion?
I have a motion that we, that go forward to the attorney. Do I hear a second? Well, I now know where that goes.
I think the question on the floor is, are there any more motions? If not, there are no more motions on the floor, the meeting's adjourned.
Well, if there's no more meetings, then I
You can relinquish the chair to the vice chairman and take a motion.
I would not, under any circumstance, do any of that. Have a motion and a second. I need everything that, any other motions? No other motion? Just stand.
I'll make the motion that we ask Mr. Rudd to offer an apology to Mrs. Gothard for any error in judgment, and that he voluntarily step aside from being fire chief for 6 months.
Have a motion that, fire chief, give the governor an apology and step aside for 6 months. Do I hear a second? No second.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion with a second. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.